We are here to learn Power BI, and I think we are going to complete this in about 10 sessions. Let's look at the objectives for today. So the objectives for today are, I know that most of you might know about the business intelligence, but where does it fit? When to use? What is the real use of business intelligence? That's what you're going to see with a simple use case. And then we are going to jump on to know about what is Power BI, why should someone use the Power BI, what are the benefits of using the Power BI, and flow of work within Power BI, and various components that Power BI has, and what does each component do for us. And then a little bit about the architecture of the Power BI, and then we'll just walk you through building blocks that we usually every day interact with when you work on Power BI. Okay. All right, let's get started. So we'll start with the business intelligence. See, business intelligence, very simple use case. It's not easy basically, but if you take a very simple use case, if you look at, there's a guy called Dan, he started a company called e-commerce company called My Products. I think, for example, I also mentioned in the next year when he started, I think in 2012, for example, let's say he started a company in 2012. Right after starting the company, next 3 years, they were able to see the profit of 2 millions. But, however, their happiness was not, stood very long. The reason because in the following year of 2016, they have again seen the losses. They have seen major loss in terms of both revenue as well as profits. So as everyone would want to know the reason, even personally also, for example, let's take a use case of personal use case. For example, I'm drawing a, for example, 1 lakh salary, and every month I'm able to save 20,000 per month after all the expenditures or the expenses or investment that I do. But still I'm able to save the 20,000 for every month. But for some reason, the last month I could not save 20,000, but I could save only 5,000, right? So see, because out of all the investments, you're not sure where you're investing and where you're spending your money. You may forget after all 30 days, right? So if you really want to know what you do, basically, you'll go to your bank statement, your bank account, you log in and get the bank statement out for the last month and see when and all your money went on, where did you spend, what are the expenditures and what are the investments, where you would want to know the reason behind why we could not save the 20,000 but only 5,000, as we usually save 20,000 every month, right? So you just imagine, for a simple person, you just had to go through a report. See, bank statement is called a report, right? So when you go through that, you'll know where did you invest, and the investment that you did is worthy or not. If it is worthy, I think you'll be happy. But if it is not worthy, you'll take some precautions by not investing in the areas where it is not worthy, right? For example, see, for a simple person, this analysis has to be done. And imagine about a company. That's, for example, the same company here, the company called My Products, which is the e-commerce company. Imagine they were able to see the 2 millions of profits in 2015, but in the next year, they have seen a major loss, right? So would they want to know the reason or not? Yes, obviously. So in that case, but it is not easy. As a person, what I can do, I can just go and to download my best statement and analyze my data. Where did I invest, right? But how could a company analyze that huge amount of data that they have been gathering for many years? Right, it's very difficult and to analyze the data or the thousands of millions of rows that are stored in the database. Even personally, also, if I wanted to download my statement and go thoroughly my statement and see the transactions of my money that I have been doing for last month, so that I will come to know that where did I invest and whether it is worthy or not, that is fine. But if the bank was not providing the statement, see, the bank statement itself is a report, right? And if you take for example, I'm using Airtel as a postpaid connection. If I want to know my total incoming calls, outgoing calls, everything about my data and how much data I used and everything, basically, right? So Airtel should provide me a report, as because I'm the customer for the Airtel. I'm the customer for one of the bank, for example, Axis Bank. If we are the customer for them, if they don't provide us the report, we cannot get into their database and see only our data, correct? How difficult for us to get into the Airtel database? But first, would they really allow us to see that? No. But as a customer, how can I access my only data? So that is where the business intelligence come into the picture, right? Then they gathered the board of director or the top management. They gather, they did discuss for a long time, and after the discussion, they decided to analyze their data thoroughly for all these years they gathered, for example, right? So it was decided that a thorough analysis needs to be done on all the data that they have been gathering for all those years since the company started, for example, until 2016. Then they might thought that, okay, we would come to know the reason if we analyze our data thoroughly. But it is, as I said, it is not easy to analyze the data, right? So what are the challenges? The challenge number one may be, your business related data scattered across the different locations, or data needs to be extracted from the different applications and the databases, which means your data not only available in a, your data is not available in a single location. It's scattered across locations, and your data may not be storing in one application. It may be storing in a web application, it may be storing in the CRM application, ERP application, databases. And how difficult for you to analyze a simple data, but it has to extract it from, it has to extract from different locations and different applications in database. And that's the challenge number one. And this is also challenge number two. Challenge number one, bringing the data or extracting the data from the different locations. And challenge number two would be, since your data might be storing in the different applications, and it is the another challenge where extracting the data from different applications and databases. And not only that, data has to be refined and transformed into the usable format, or into the format which can be really analyzed. Means all the data in the database may not be useful for your analysis, right? So why do you want to take headache of analyzing the unnecessary data, correct? See, I only pick what I want. Why should I pick what I don't want, right? So you have to refine, or maybe the data is not in the format of reading, then you have to transform. So that is a challenge number two. Then challenge number three would be, need some mechanism which can load and refine and transform your data into the data warehouse, and need some mechanism which can help you to bring the or extract the data from multiple locations, and need some same mechanism or some other mechanism which can help you to refine and transform the data, or bring the data from multiple applications and put it in one centralized location, and that should be accessible to right departments and the right persons. So that is the challenge number three, right? And what is that mechanism which can help us to extract the data from multiple locations, from multiple or from various applications, databases, and which can help us to refine, load the data into the centralized location, which is only after refining, and which is transformed after transforming, or the data which is required only for analysis, right? So what is that mechanism? The mechanism is business intelligence. So a business intelligence system can be, in this situation, is your mechanism that can help you to do, or that can help you to overcome all these challenges that we have seen from this, that we have discussed from a simple use case. Those are the challenges that can be overcome using a mechanism or a system called business intelligence. What is a business intelligence, right? So it's a set of tools and techniques that is used to gather and consolidate the data from various systems, applications, databases, and then it is also used for extracting the data from these various systems, that databases that we mentioned, and from different locations. To do that, it's going to use a different techniques or different tools and different techniques within those tools, and it will help us to transform the data into the usable format or readable format, or to the format which can be analyzed. And finally, load only the data which is required for analysis into the centralized location called data warehouse or something else. It may not be the data warehouse, but for example, it is a data warehouse, right? So that is the business intelligence. The business intelligence, my dear fans, it is only the first part. So what I'm trying to say here is, now if you look at my screen, which is showing two things, the business intelligence ETL as well as the BI results. The business intelligence is not only about ETL, but it is also about the BI. After loading your data into the data warehouse, then the real picture come into the picture. The real thing come into the picture, that is called analysis. And you're gonna access the data in the data warehouse and do your analysis by creating the reports, dashboards, sending the alerts to the users, creating the reports using the different data visualization options, and do the data mining on top of that, and create your OLAP analysis if you really need it. So that is called the BI results. So which means the business intelligence is not only about the ETL, but which is also about your reporting and analytics. So the BI basically categorized into two. The BI has two branches. One is ETL, extract, transform, and load, and then analysis part. That is where it comes. That is where the reporting and analytics come into the picture. Okay. So that is what you mean by business intelligence, and that is how the basic BI helps from a individual to a corporate level. Okay, and then see, I said the business intelligence is a set of tools, but in the market there are many BI tools are available. For example, from reporting and analytics perspective, there are many, not only reporting and analytics, but also from, for example, ETL perspective. So there are many BI tools are available in the market. Self-service, they might be self-service business intelligence tools, or they might be some traditional BI tools, or whatever it is. The BI tool is a BI tool, reporting BI tool, right? So for example, you have Power BI, Tableau, Click, TIBCO, Looker, the many other, right? The question is, there's a lady coming and asking the guy from my product company, they're saying, hey, why don't you consider using Power BI? Okay, so he's asking a question, he's in confusion. So there are so many BI tools are available in the market, but which one should I consider or pick for my, or use for my organization? So the lady's coming and asking, why don't you consider Power BI, right? Why should I? Again, one more question comes after that, why should I really use a Power BI, right? So let's look at what is a Power BI and why should someone really use a Power BI, and what is the worth of using the Power BI and different features that it offers, right? Let's look into the Power BI. What is a Power BI? See, Power BI is like any other BI tools, and which also offers different services, and which also has different apps and various connectors within Power BI. So they all work together to turn your unrelated sources of the data into the visuals, or interactive insights or data insights, which will make sense or which will give you some idea about how your company is running, right? So that is what the Power BI, and we will see more of it. Then first, let's look at this figure, what you have here. If you look at here, our ultimate goal is to build a report or dashboard that you can see on my screen. But where we build our report, where we build our dashboard, using which tool? For example, Power BI in the middle. So Power BI is a tool that we are going to use to build a report or dashboard, something like this. But what does a report or dashboard display? An information in terms of data. But does Power BI has the data also in it? No, Power BI is not the database. Power BI is just a reporting tool which will present your data in terms of reports and dashboard. But for Power BI to present your data in terms of dashboards and reports, does it need the data or not? Does it need to connect to data or not? Yes. So in order to build your reports and dashboards, something look like this, Power BI needs to connect to the one or the other data, to some data, for example. So where does that data store? Where can Power BI go and connect to that data, right? So your data might be storing on the clouds, or your data might be available on the web pages, or your data might be storing in as simple as Access database, or Excel files, CSV files, JSON files, or PDF files, or your data might be storing in a complex databases like SQL. It might be SQL Server, Oracle, DB2, Sybase, Teradata, whatever it is. Or your data might be, you may have to connect to the data which is stored in big data HDFS files, or to anything basically, right? So wherever the data is available, wherever your data stores, in whichever the format it is, Power BI is capable enough of connecting to that data and bringing the data into the Power BI and start presenting it in the reports and dashboards with the help of the various visualizations that are available in the Power BI, like pie chart, line chart, combination of pie and bar, horizontal bars, column bars, vertical bars, the scatter chart, tree map itself, right? There are so many variety of visuals are available to present your data as a report and dashboard, right? So what all I'm trying to say here is Power BI is a tool which can nearly connect to any database and bring the data into it and start presenting your data that are available in your market. Be it any database, right? Power BI supports almost all variety of the databases that are available in the market. And Power BI is a collection of software services, apps, and connectors. We will see what are those services and apps and components that Power BI has in the future slides. But this is what the Power BI is. And this is what the Power BI is capable enough for connecting to the various databases or data sources. Okay, next. Okay, that is the Power BI. And there was a lady asking the question, why did you consider using the Power BI? When guy was having a question of what to use, which tool to pick up, the lady was recommending to use Power BI. Then again, immediate question arises that why should I use the Power BI? Right? No one simply buy if you just ask, hey, please, can you buy it? No, you have to demonstrate it, the features, advantages, disadvantages, what it provides. Does it really gonna meet your requirements? Does it gonna fulfill your requirements? All those needs to be presented to the users who really want to buy the Power BI or who really want to implement the Power BI as a BI tool, right? So now let's look at the main reasons of Power BI that why Power BI can be chosen and how it is getting transformed to your most popular BI tool in the market, okay? Now, the first reason could be it comes at a lower upfront cost, which means in the beginning of implementing BI mechanism in your company, you really don't have to invest too much of money. You really don't have to invest a big chunk of money. You can just start as simple as with $10 per month per user. Very simple, right? From the cost perspective, which is the best tool to explore if you really want to implement the BI and if you really want to do analytics and reporting and analytics, or even if you want to implement the machine learning algorithms using any of the tool. So I would suggest using the Power BI. Then API for integration, the second one, application programming interface for integration. It is available in C# as well as in the other programming languages. But what do you mean by integration using API? The API, with the API, what you can do, you can really connect to your database online. API can also be used to connect to your databases, which really help you to update your data every second, means real-time analytics. You can achieve the real-time analytics using the API to connect to your databases on the web or your databases on somewhere else. And then which can also be used to integrate or your reports and dashboard in your own portal, in your own company web portal. So that is what I mean by API for integration. Then lots of customization can be done. The Power BI has many varieties of doing the customization of your reports and dashboards, or even data sets, or even in terms of the scheduling your data sets for the different frequencies, and which comes with the variety of data integrations, which comes with the variety of data transformations options, data modeling options, and not only that, which is also a user-friendly tool. So Power BI not only offers a simple reporting in analytics, but it also offers machine learning algorithms to execute, and then on top of that build your machine learning, then present your results on in a different visualizations to the results come out of machine learning algorithms, right? So then mobility means with Power BI, the Power BI users can not only access the reports and dashboards through browser, but they can even access using the mobiles or iPads of any OS of any offered by any company, right? Then, as I said, you can also implement advanced analytics by integrating your or by embedding R language Python script as well. Okay, so these are the main reasons that why Power BI can be chosen, and how it will help you to get your data transformed into to usable format and becomes very popular in the market nowadays, the Power BI. Okay, next let's look at three elements of Power BI. The one on the left side, which is a Power BI desktop, the one in the middle, that is a Power BI service, the one in the right side with the mobile app, that is a mobile icon, that is a mobile app. Okay, we will do what does each element of Power BI do, what does Power BI Desktop do, and then how we use the mobile apps as well, one by one. Next, flow of work. Flow of work, which is very simple. I'm going to explain here. Flow of work, basically, a common flow of work in Power BI begins with the Power BI Desktop. We discussed about three components, right? So we discussed three components, isn't it? So what is that? The Power BI Desktop, then Power BI Service, then Power BI mobile app, the three elements, right? Then let's look at where do you start your work, and really when you really beginning work with the Power BI, where do you start? Which component you use first, and where do you publish your reports? How the people access the reports and dashboards, right? So that's what you're going to see as part of the flow of work in Power BI, flow of work in your Power BI, right? So let's look at that. What we usually do, if you look at my PPT, a common flow of work in Power BI begins with Power BI Desktop, where a report is created. So after creating the report, that report is then published to Power BI service and then shared so that users of Power BI mobile apps can consume the information. A very simple common flow of work. But let me take you through in detail. What do you do basically? So let's say this is the database, and this is your Power BI Desktop. This is your Power BI Desktop. So Power BI Desktop is used to present your data in terms of reports and reports, right? So Power BI is used for presenting your data as information, but where that information is available, that information is available in terms of data in the database, right? So first you should connect to data, and bring the data into the Power BI Desktop, right? Then create a report and then publish onto the Power BI service. This is publish or deploy. Publish the report onto the Power BI service, which is cloud version, web version. And then Once the report is published into the Power BI service, is then can be shared, is then can be restricted, then can create the dashboards out of it, and then it can also be consumed using the Power BI service by opening a browser. If not, how else you can consume your reports and dashboard? Or you can also use the Power BI mobile apps to consume your reports and dashboard as well. So this is a common flow of work. Very simple. Okay. So where do we begin and where do we end? That's it. But we're going to see in detail what does Power BI Desktop do and what does the Power BI Service product component also do, right? So in a brief, just wanted to give you what Power BI or what is a common flow of work in Power BI. All right. So if you look at this one, we're going to bring the data into the Power BI Desktop and create a report published to the Power BI service where you create new visualizations or build dashboards, share your dashboards with the others, then view and interact with your dashboards and reports in Power BI mobile apps. Very simple 4 steps. Next, what do you really do at high level using each component or elements that you discussed? What do you really do at high level with the Power BI Desktop, or what do you do at high level using in Power BI service, and what for what purpose you use Power BI mobile apps, right? Let's look at this. Power BI Desktop is a Windows-based desktop application which is used to connect your disparate whole range of data sources that it supports. Okay, let me write it down here. What do you do with the Power BI Desktop at high level? That's what I'm going to see. I'm going to let you know here. So using Power BI, first, you're going to connect to your data available in any format of the in any of the format in any format, and then Power BI Desktop will help you to connect your data, will help you to do data transformation, which is like ETL, which then acts like your ETL component. What is this component which acts as ETL within the Power BI Desktop? I'll let you know. Okay, trying to do here is I'm trying to let you know what does Power BI Desktop do, then which will help you to do build data modeling. This also includes DAX, then create reports using different visuals, right? Then fifth one is publish a report to Power BI service. So at high level, these are the 5 tasks that we do in the Power BI Desktop, right? Then what do you do with the Power BI service? Once you publish your reports into the Power BI service, then we'll share reports with others, or what you can do, we'll create dashboards, we'll share both reports and our dashboards with others, data refresh using data gateways, providing user access to workspace using different permission options, data alerts, Q&A, many options are there, okay, etc., etc. This is what we do with the Power BI service at high level, right? Then what is some Power BI mobile app then used for? So Power BI mobile app is just used for only consuming reports and dashboards. See, Power BI service also can be accessed and which can also use to consume, but using browser. Okay, that's what I meant. So these are the different components and the common flow of work and what does each component or element that they do at high level. Okay, so now we have seen elements of Power BI. Now we are going to see components of Power BI. Power BI comes with variety of or different components. That is a Power Query that you can see, Power Pivot, then Power View, Power Map, Power BI Service we already have discussed, then Power BI Q&A, which comes with a different component. And let's see what does each component do and what we use each component for. Okay, now let's go ahead and see that. Components of Power BI. The first one is Power Query. Power Query basically, if you look at this, search, access, and transform public and internal data sources, which means is used to connect to data and do the data transformations, loading the data into another component that is called Power Pivot. But what kind of the data transformations that we do? It connects to the variety of the data sources that we know, and it is going to load the data into the Power Pivot data model. This is one of the other component of the Power BI. But in the middle step, do the data transformation. What do you mean by it? Which means transforming your data from one form to other form, right? So for example, let's say merging 2 columns, splitting columns, merging columns, splitting columns, then deleting columns, creating custom columns, merging 2 queries, appending 2 queries, extracting part of the data, right? then grouping the data. So there are so many variety of transformation options are available. That is what we are going to do, which is like, you can remember this one, the Power Query. That is what I'm trying to say. This is like your ETL tool. It is used to connect to the data, and then what I can say, connect to the data and extract the data, extract the data. So which means, what does each ETL tool do? Any ETL tool, forget about the Power BI for instance, right? So any ETL tool does extracting the data, sorry, connecting to the data, then extracting the data, transforming the data, and loading the data. So this is what exactly what Power Query also does within the Power BI. So which is going to connect to the data sources, to whatever the data source yours, and then extracting the data into the Power BI, then do the data, applying the data transformations, lookup transformations, joiner transformations, unit transformations, nothing but appending two queries, splitting the column, creating the new columns, load only the data that you need to the target. That is called loading the data into the Power Pivot data model. So which means by now you might have understood what do you mean by Power Query is. Power Query is like your ETL tool, which is used for doing the data transformations. Okay, and then the next component is Power Pivot. Power Pivot is basically in-memory data modeling tool or component or tool, whatever it is, right? So from the Power Query, from the last step, loading the data into the Power Pivot data model. So once you load the data from Power Query into the Power Pivot data model, then what are we going to do with the Power Pivot? So Power Pivot is used for building data model like star or snowflake by creating relationships between dimension and fact tables, cardinality of relationships, right? Then we are going to create new calculations in terms of new columns, new measures, basically new calculations using DAX, data analysis expressions, new columns, new measures, and new tables. So this is what we do using the Power Pivot, which means the Power Query is used for data transformation, making the data ready for data modeling, and Power Pivot is used for building the data model, making the data ready for reports, right? Then the next component comes, that is Power View or Power Map, both together. These are visualization components, are used to create reports using different visual options, filtering the data using filters and our slicers, creating dynamic reports, okay, using options like slicers, DAX, bookmarks, right? Drill through, drill down and up, right? So with so many varieties, we are going to create the reports, right? So that is what this Power Query, Power Pivot, Power View, and Power Map do. Once we create the reports, we already have discussed here. Once we create the reports using the, see here, this is what it is here. At high level, if you want me to define, this is Power Query, this is Power Pivot, and this is Power View and our Power Map, right? So connect your data, do the data transformation using the Power Query, do the data building using the building your data models and creating the new calculations tables, new measures, new calculations, new tables using the Power Pivot data model, then create the reports using the components called Power View, Power Map, then publish the reports into the Power BI service, right? Now, next is the Power BI service. We know we already have discussed what do we do with the Power BI service once we publish your reports to it. That is, we'll create the dashboards using multiple options, using different options. Then we'll share both reports and our dashboards with the others. Data refresh using the data gateways, providing the user access to the workspace, data alerts, Q&A, etc., etc. And Power BI service can also be used to consume your reports and dashboards for the end users using the browsers. All right. Next, Power BI Q&A. There's one component within the Power BI service or Power BI that is called Power BI Q&A. Right? What do you mean by Power BI Q&A? It is natural query language which answers users' questions in terms of visuals. I'm telling you in terms of visuals, which means which is going to answer your questions in terms of visuals by searching your underlying data set. Okay. If I ask a question like this, let's say, what is sales by country? If I ask this question, see, we are going to ask the question in the natural language, call in a natural English language to the Power BI, and then your Power BI is going to give you an answer in terms of map. Because it is a country, it's a geographical field, but Power BI is going to answer to this question in terms of map by displaying the data for different countries and what are the sales. And if I ask a question like this, what is sales versus profit by different products, then which is going to answer your question in the scatter chart. You know what? And if you ask a question like this, hey, what is sales by years, then it's going to answer your question in the bar chart. Or if you say what is sales for any date field, which is going to answer your question in the line chart. So it is as simple as I'm doing like this. I'm doing now. You're going to type your question in natural language, and Power BI is going to give you an answer in terms of visuals, not oral answers, not a written answer, but a visual answer that you get from the Power BI. So that is what you mean by Power BI Q&A component. Okay, let's continue. Next, we'll see the building blocks of Power BI that we usually interact every day. Okay, or the building blocks of Power BI that report or a dashboard contains. All right, let's look at this. What is a report? See, the definition of a report and dashboard, which may confuse you from the Power BI terminology perspective. All right, so let me give you. What is a visualization? Anyone knows? Yes, everyone knows that visualization is a representing your data in the pictures, graphs, or charts using the different background color, foreground color, or other interesting formatting options. So that is what you mean by visualizations. For example, what are those? Pie chart, line chart, scatter chart, bar chart with multiple bar colors, line chart with multiple line colors, scatter chart with multiple circles, diamond shapes, triangle shapes, Power BI with the different colors of the slicers, right? So that is a visual. Visualization is a visual representation of your data. Okay. Then what is a data set? So data set is a collection of data that Power BI uses to create your reports or visualizations. And you can have a simple data set based on a single table from Excel workbooks, similar to what's showing in the following image. Or data set can also be a combination of many different data sources, which can include the filters combined to provide the unique collection of the data for use in Power BI service. What I'm trying to say here is, so this is your data set, for example. So data set can include the data only from one source or only Excel or only SQL Server, right? Or combination of these two, which means table one coming from Excel source, table two coming from SQL Server, and your data set can have both table one and table two coming from different data sources. And your data set may have the filters that are applied in the report. Data source may have the coloring that are applied in the report. Data source will have the information about the data source connection that you provided while connecting to the different data sources. Okay, so that is what you mean by data set mean. And that is what the data set contains. All right, which means, for example, you could create a data set from 3 different database fields. One from website table, maybe one of the table may be coming from website, another table coming from Excel, and the results may be coming from online results or email marketing campaign. The unique combination is still considered as a single data set, even though it was pulled the data from together from many different data sources. Okay, so that is what you mean by data set. Then a report. The report in the Power BI terminology is a collection of visualizations. If you look at my screen, you may think that it is not a report, but a dashboard, right? But the Power BI has a different definition of a report. Power BI report is exactly look your dashboard. If you really want to speak in terms of, if you want me to generalize, a report is a single report, which may be a single bar chart, single table, or single scatter. If you want to me generalize, and dashboard is a collection of visualization. But in the Power BI perspective, the report is also a collection of visualizations. They appear together on one or more pages. It's like your Excel page. If you look at here, let me put it in presentation mode. If you look at the bottom left side, it has a page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5. It's like your exactly Excel workbook. Power BI file exactly look like your Excel workbook, where Excel also contains sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3, tab 1, tab 2, tab 3, and where each page of the Power BI workbook file, Power BI file, can contain one or more visualizations. So when you have the collection of visualizations, one or more visualizations together on one or more pages, that is called a report. Okay, then what is a dashboard? So this is a report, but what is a dashboard? So dashboard is also exactly look like your report, but the main difference, there are many differences between reports and dashboard. We are going to discuss the other differences the later part of the sessions, but I'm going to give you very simple definition here or difference. The dashboard is also a collection of visualizations. They also appear together. but on a single page. Means the report is a multi-page canvas, but the dashboard is a single page canvas. That is very simple. Okay, the dashboard has to fit in a single page, often called a canvas. Okay, so that is a report. What is a report? And that is what is a dashboard. A simple difference between report and a dashboard. Report is a multi-page canvas, dashboard is a single page canvas. In both of them, you can see one or more visualizations consolidated together and they appear together. Okay, then tiles. What is a tile? A single visualization in any of the report or a dashboard is called a tile, which means if you take a room in your at your home, right? Your room might be constructed using the square boxes. Each square box, what we call is a tile. Here, each rectangular box, or basically majority of the times rectangular box, or in a square box in either a dashboard or a report, or a single visualization in a report or dashboard is called a tile. Okay, all right, let's get into the Tableau architecture, sorry, Power BI architecture. See, you'll find the architecture very easy. Like if you look at the Power BI desktop here, so Power BI desktop is used for connecting to the different data sources, might be other cloud sources, the sources on the Azure services, Azure cloud, or maybe as simple as Excel files on the on-premise Excel files, or your Excel files and the OneDrive. You can also connect to the Excel files on OneDrive. You can connect to the CSV files, Excel files, and the on-premise means from your local drive, or you can connect to the SharePoint list, or you can also connect to the on-premise data sources. Then what you are going to do with the Power BI desktop, connect to the data, extract data, data transformation, data modeling, reports, then publish onto the Power BI service. Once you publish your reports onto the Power BI service, not only your reports are going to be published, your data sets also going to be published. The respective data set is also going to be published when you publish a report from Power BI desktop to Power BI service, right? And we know what does the report contains. We know what does data set contain. Then once you publish your reports onto the Power BI service, then we are going to create the dashboards within Power BI service. So dashboards can be created only in the Power BI service, not in the Power BI desktop. Remember this, keep this in mind, okay? Then once you publish your reports onto the Power BI service, then we can create the dashboard, we can share the reports and dashboard, we can create the data alerts, send the data alerts, we can subscribe to the reports and dashboard, we can refresh your data set using the data gateway, you can see the personal data gateway, right? So then end users can consume their reports either using their mobile apps or using the browsers from the Windows, using their laptops or desktop, or they can even access their reports dashboard using the iPad. Okay, so this is how the a simple architecture of Power BI. Okay, so let me walk you through installation of the Power BI desktop. Installing the Power BI desktop, my dear friends, is very simple. By the time, if you really want to practice along with me, what you can do, I'll request you to have your Power BI desktop installed by the time we meet tomorrow, right? So what you can do here is, you can go to powerbi.microsoft.com, right? Sorry, go to the products, variety of the products are available. Click Power BI desktop and don't click on the download free, just click on see download or language options. Then click download. Then you have 64-bit version of the desktop and 32-bit version of the desktop. Whatever your OS version, whether 62, 64-bit or 32-bit, so the respective version needs to be downloaded. Click next so that it is going to be downloaded. Once it is downloaded, you're going to click next, that .msi file, then you're going to say next, accept the license, next, and install in the particular location. That's it. Done, open. Very simple, right? So in order to install your Power BI desktop, minimum 8 or 2 or later, Windows 7 or later, or Windows Server 2008 or 2 or later. Then there must be .NET 4.5 framework installed on your desktop. Then your IE version should be minimum 9 or later. And for better performance, keep at least 4 GB of RAM, okay? So that is what I mean by installing the Power BI desktop, and please have it installed by when you come. This is all it is from my side, my dear friends.